In today's webinar, Navigating Your After-School Snack and Supper with CACFP, we will be breaking down the enrollment process for the Child and Adult Care Food Program and discussing the benefits of participation. Presenting today, we have myself, Ligea Alexander, the Food Programs VISTA here at the Network Feed Success. My role is to increase participation in the Child and Adult Care Food Program by conducting outreach to eligible after-school programs. We also have Misha Marvel, who is the Child Nutrition Program Specialist at Hunger Solutions, New York. She provides support to nutrition outreach and education program coordinators on child nutrition programs, policies, and issues. Then we have Flynn from the Child and Adult Care Food Program at New York State Department of Health. Mary Ellen is a public health nutritionist at the New York State Department of Health and has many years of experience working with CACFP. On today's agenda, I will begin by sharing some information about the New York State Network Feed Success. We will then have Misha Marvel discuss the importance of healthy eating in after school. After that, we will have Mary Ellen Flynn, who will provide us with knowledge on CACFP and the enrollment process that is required for participation. And lastly, I will present on how to credit suppers and or snacks according to CACFP guidelines. So let's get to it. Formerly known as After School Works New York and the New York State After School Network, we are the Network Feed Success. Under our new name, we continue to advocate to increase access to high-quality expanded learning programs, and we provide resources and trainings to support high quality. We support many types of programs that foster youth success, including after-school and summer programs, community schools, and expanded learning time schools. Our mission is to strengthen the capacity and commitment of communities, programs, and professionals to increase access to high-quality programs and serve beyond the traditional classroom. Here's our mission statement. We have 10 regional networks across the state and partners in New York City. Our advisory council is made up of our public partners, and our board members come from many of our partnering agencies. We provide program accreditation for after-school programs to increase program quality and publicly certify that quality. We also offer a credential for after-school professionals that meets the education requirements in the school-age child care regulations. Additionally, we offer membership for programs across the state, providing access to numerous targeted resources and a discount on all annual statewide conferences. We are the state affiliate for the National After-School Association, so our members also become associate members with the NAA. Here are a list of our regional networks you can find across the state. You can find more information on them and how to get connected on our website. Here's where you can sign up for our listserv to get our monthly newsletter and important updates. Also, you can follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook for social media updates and fun nutrition resources. We are here today because child nutrition is an important initiative of the network. We provide free resources on child nutrition and want to increase enrollment across the state in the Child and Adult Care Food Program, or CACFP, so that programs like yours can take advantage of reimbursements for serving healthy suppers and snacks. This not only provides an opportunity to make your program more sustainable through bringing in additional resources, but serving healthy meals and snacks is a component of a high-quality program. Furthermore, with the new school-age child care regulations through the Office of Children and Family Services, or OCFS, programs that serve snacks are required to meet CACFP guidelines for those snacks anyway, so getting enrolled for reimbursements makes even more sense. We'll talk more about enrollment later, But now I would like to pass the conversation on to Misha Marvel, who will present on the importance of healthy eating in after school. Hello. Hi, Misha. You can go ahead and unmute yourself to begin discussion.
Thank you, Ligea. I'm very grateful. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Great, thanks. I'm very grateful for this time to help raise awareness of the importance of connecting kids and teens with healthy meals after school. We all know that during regular school hours, free and reduced price school meals go far in ensuring kids have access to nutritious food. But by the end of the school day, lunch is a distant memory. Children can feel run down, their attention span shortens, their ability to learn diminishes, and they may have difficulty really fully participating in after-school activities. And for so many, as you may well know, there can be a real gap in their nutrition after school and on school holidays and weekends. So today we're here to talk about an under-tapped child nutrition program, the after-school meals component of CACFP. And although there has been an increase in recent years, there remains many after-school programs that could participate. We're going to learn a little later in this webinar from Mary Ellen about the nuts and bolts of the CACFP requirements, but during my time today, I'm going to share a little bit about the background and context for why serving after-school meals is so important to our kids and teens, especially who live in low-income households and communities. And because of who you are and your work, Ligea also asked me to briefly mention a few other important nutrition programs that are either already in your area or that you may also consider getting involved with, because we all want to ensure that you know about how to access better nutrition for the families that you serve. But before I go further, I should briefly introduce our organization. Hunger Solutions New York is a statewide anti-hunger nonprofit. We raise awareness of hunger in our communities and promote federal nutrition assistance programs that address hunger. We advocate for full participation in nutrition assistance programs for all who are eligible, and we also work to promote policies that contribute to ending hunger. We work collaboratively with national and statewide and regional partners to provide targeted outreach, education, and support for these nutrition assistance programs listed here. These are not all of the USDA nutrition assistance programs, but they are the entitlement programs, which means that everyone who qualifies and applies may receive benefits. Hunger Solutions New York believes that the crippling reality of hunger in our state and nation is unacceptable, and it is reversible, and we believe that the full use of these nutrition assistance programs will significantly reduce the incidence of hunger. How hunger is defined and measured varies, but the concepts are comparable. Basically, that the people have access at all times to enough safe and nutritious food for an active and healthy life. So what does this mean for New York State? The simple answer is there are multiple measures, but similar results. On national measures from USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, FRAC, the Food Research and Action Center, and Feeding America, they each help us get at hunger across the country, but no matter how you look at it, the results are relatively consistent. The percentages here, what do they translate into? Many people in our state are struggling, and 1 in 7 of our overall population is falling into food insecure categories. And for households with children, the severity increases to 1 in 5. In terms of the consequences of food insecurity and hunger among children, research has shown that hunger interferes with the children's ability to learn, to grow, to stay healthy, and food insecure children are typically at a physical, academic, and social disadvantage. Specifically, children who did not receive what they need for strong and healthy brain development during their early childhood years may never recover their lost potential for cognitive growth. This chart shows how child hunger first causes health problems, child hunger then creates educational problems, and child hunger leads to workforce and job readiness problems. Further, emerging research findings shed some light on the harmful implications of food insecurity among teenagers and college students. For example, like their younger peers, food insecure adolescents are more likely to have seen a psychologist. They are more likely to have difficulty getting along with their peers, and they're more likely to have been suspended from school. Back in 2010, doctors and the Children's Health Watch team developed the Hunger Vital Sign, a two-question screening tool that identifies individuals and households as being at risk for food insecurity if they answer that either or both of the following two statements is either often true or sometimes true for them versus never true. And the two statements are, within the past 12 months, we worried whether our food would run out before we got money to buy more. And within the past 12 months, the food we bought just didn't last and we didn't have money to get more. And they found that hungry children are sick more often, they're more likely to be hospitalized, and they are more likely to suffer physical, emotional, and developmental impairments. For school-aged children and teens, since the 2007 and 2008 school year, and when the Great Recession hit, there's been a steady increase in the number of families across the state who are turning to school meal programs. You can see from this chart that in March of this year, well over 1.6 million students qualified for free and reduced price school meals. And this is an increase of over 354,000 students compared to the 2007 and 8 school year. While the total enrollment of our student population in the K-12 public school system has remained nearly the same, the percentage of our students who are qualified to receive free reduced price school meals has increased from 48%, it's a little hard to see on this chart at the moment, but it's from 48% to 60% of our total school enrollment. Child nutrition programs like school breakfast and lunch, summer meals, and after-school meals make sure children get the nutrition they need where they learn, where they play, and where they are cared for. And in fact, research shows that participation in federal nutrition programs such as SNAP and meals provided during child care, school, after-school, and summer mitigate hunger and support children's health and learning. Specifically, there's a growing body of research that shows how SNAP can safeguard against food insecurity and improve health, academic, and employment outcomes. SNAP is our nation's largest anti-hunger program. In New York State alone, most recent numbers we have is over 1 million children benefit from SNAP. That's overall about 1/3 of all New Yorkers who receive SNAP benefits are children. But because SNAP is underutilized, I want to talk a bit about our SNAP outreach efforts. Through the Nutrition Outreach and Education Program, with local community-based coordinators located in counties across the state, the counties highlighted here in green, we connect families and households with monthly SNAP benefits. NOAP coordinators pre-screen households for potential eligibility and help them apply. And we wanted to especially share this resource with you because a working family's child care costs are taken into account when determining a household's SNAP eligibility and benefit amounts. So I want to invite you to visit the website foodhelpny.org to connect with your local NOAP outreach coordinator if you haven't already. Today is the last official day of summer, and I want to make sure I speak to the summer food service program as well. On any average school day, over 1.1 million low-income students across New York State eat lunch at school. And in the summer, many of these children are at risk of hunger and summer learning loss. For example, last summer, statewide summer nutrition programs reached about 1/3 of the low-income kids who eat school meals. But in most upstate counties, we reached far fewer than that. So we want to invite you to visit the website summermealsny.org to find places in your area serving meals and snacks at what are considered open sites where there are no applications for families, and to learn more about how you may be eligible to serve summer nutrition to the kids in your care next summer as either an open site or a closed enrolled site, which is where you would serve meals and snacks to kids and teens enrolled only in your care. And when you visit that website, Summer Meals NY, you'll see a variety of outreach resources and background information. There's a directory of sponsors in your county so you could connect with, as well as an interactive mapper that the USDA populates to find places in your area serving meals and snacks. You can also learn more about how you may be eligible to serve summer nutrition to the kids in your care, as I mentioned. And as you're able, we also encourage you to add one of the several web buttons or web badges to your website, the button here in the upper right-hand corner of the slide, as a way to help with outreach in your community leading up and throughout next summer. Finally, we come to the importance and the value of after-school programs and meals. According to a national survey conducted by Share Our Strengths, nearly 60% of parents reported having tight household budgets, making it difficult to provide food to their children after school. And furthermore, 25% of low-income parents surveyed worried that their children don't have enough to eat between school lunch and breakfast the following day. And overall, while most parents are interested in after-school programs, especially with tutoring and creative or recreational activities, 3/4 of parents said that they would be even more interested in an after-school program if it provided healthy food. After-school programs that serve meals provide a much-needed service to their communities. Just to summarize why the meals matter, they serve to attract kids and teens, especially to drop in after-school enrichment programs. The meals allow the kids to be more engaged during their time in the program. They improve children's health, support families, and reduce learning loss. And these meals also prevent stigma for low-income kids and teens by providing food in an easy-to-access, positive environment that also allows for social bonding time with their peers. Mary Ellen next is going to dig down into all of the eligibility details in her portion of today's webinar. But just want to show a quick way to find out if your program may be in an eligible area, to visit these helpful documents that Department of Health has uploaded to their website. They're separated into New York City and outside of New York City schools by county. And I also want to quickly reference a resource that we created with the Network for Youth Success, the Department of Health, that can serve as a supplement to this webinar. Not only will Mary Ellen and Ligea be answering many of these questions and more during their presentations, but we will upload this resource to our website for you to reference later and to share as needed. And finally, we just want to make sure to invite you to connect with us according to your needs and your interests. We have a variety of information, resources, and outreach materials for your use posted on our targeted websites listed on this slide. And we also invite you to connect with us on our social media channels and to learn about advocacy opportunities to strengthen even more our nation's child nutrition programs. So I'm going to hand it back over to Ligea, but I want to thank you so very much for all the meaningful work that you are doing with the kids and teens in your care. And I believe we're taking questions at the end, so I'm going to turn it back over to Ligea for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Misha, for enlightening us on the importance of having healthy meals in after school. As she stated, we will be having some time at the end of the webinar for questions and answers, but please feel free to enter any questions that you have in the chat box as we go along. Now we have Mary Ellen Flynn, who will provide us with a breakdown of the Child and Adult Care Food Program, or CACFP. Mary Ellen? Hello?
Thank you, Ligea.
Okay, great.
I am the outreach nutritionist for the Child and Adult Care Food Program. CACFP provides reimbursement for meals and snacks for school-age children outside of the regular school day. So my objective today is to explain enrollment in CACFP after school, our at-risk after-school program. I'm going to highlight the benefits of participation, program eligibility, reimbursement, meal pattern requirements, and the application process. By partnering with CACFP, your after-school program will improve the quality of meals and snacks served to your students. As far as background, CACFP is supported through an entitlement program from the United States Department of Agriculture and is administered by the New York State Department of Health. As an entitlement program, it is entirely federally funded and has no funding cap. As a result, and a very key factor for enrollment, is that any eligible program may apply to participate in CACFP at any time during the year. CACFP is all about promoting good nutrition and reversing the trends of obesity. The snacks and the suppers should provide opportunities for children to develop positive attitudes about healthy foods and practice appropriate mealtime behaviors. Even at snack time, it's important to encourage the students to eat slowly, enjoy the food, be sure to sit down and eat together. Remember that teaching healthy eating practices will help children develop a positive attitude about food. So why connect after-school programs and students to CACFP? Well, as we've already discussed, it promotes good nutrition, obesity prevention, and best feeding practices. As Misha mentioned, after-school programs provide an important service to the families in the community. And if, for example, your program is located within a school, this is a good fit. Schools are already certified to serve meals, so there's no additional health and safety requirement. And we all know that CACFP may help fill the gap by providing meals and snacks to children who might otherwise go hungry. Consider the benefits of enrolling your after-school program in CACFP. As we said over and over, it's going to help improve the quality of meals and snacks served. This monthly reimbursement will enable a program to purchase more nutritious foods such as fresh fruits and vegetables, fruits in season and vegetables in season, all to help improve your menus. There are free program materials, technical assistance, and training available, and a public health nutritionist is available to help provide assistance as needed. I'm going to move on now to some of the eligibility requirements. To be eligible for the at-risk after-school program, the program must be operated by a school or a public or private organization. It's going to operate on a regular basis during non-school hours, and we're going to follow the school calendar, September through June. Now, keep in mind, if the after-school program is located within a school, the National School Lunch Program may reimburse for a snack. However, if the after-school program chooses to serve supper, then they would need to be enrolled in CACFP for reimbursement. Misha mentioned the area eligibility. Well, a key step to eligibility and enrollment is to determine if that program is located within a low-income area. Now, in order to do this, right during our application process, we will ask the question, where would the student go to school if they lived right next door to the after-school program? Once we establish what that school is, we then refer to the the data from the New York State Education Department. And an area is considered to be low income if it is served by a public school. Now, it can be elementary, middle, or the high school, in which 50% or more of the children enrolled are eligible for free or reduced price meals. And the good news is that the eligibility determinations are valid for 5 years. To further clarify, the at-risk program reimburses for the snack and supper at the free rate without having to qualify the children individually based on their household income. This is very much important for our traditional CACFP program. But for the at-risk program, the income eligibility applications are not required when the program only serves the PM snack and or the supper. And then again, they qualify at the at-risk reimbursement rate. So looking at this chart, this is an overview of our reimbursement rates. They're set annually by Congress. And as you're looking at the chart, what I want you to note is that the at-risk level of reimbursement is the same as the free rate. It is for supper and snack, and it's our highest level of reimbursement. If we look at a sample reimbursement, let's say the after-school program has 100 students present, and it's open for 20 days that particular month, and they serve both the snack and the supper, then the program would be reimbursed about $8,500 per month, and for that 10-month school calendar, it would receive about $85,000 in reimbursement for that year. CACFP enrollment would definitely have a positive impact on your stretched budgets. Another consideration for enrollment is to determine if this after-school program provides an educational or enrichment activity. Now, the educational enrichment activities could include like homework assistance, arts and crafts, computer classes, recreational sports programs. Also, the teens must be enrolled in and attend school, and they may participate until the end of the school year in which they turn 19. I am going to discuss the CACFP Healthy Child Meal Pattern, and I know that Ligea will provide us more information in the next portion of our webinar. But in order to receive reimbursement, the snacks and suppers must meet the CACFP Healthy Child Meal Pattern. And this Healthy Child Meal Pattern helps guide the types and amounts of food that needs to be served. By following the CACFP meal pattern requirements, programs ensure that meals and snacks are well-rounded and offer better variety. And this better variety can increase the nutritional value of the menus that you serve to your students. During the application process, the CACFP Public Health Nutritionist will review your program menus, and you will need to include these components: fluid milk, which again is a great source of protein and calcium, vegetables and fruits, which are packed with vitamins, minerals, and fiber, grains and breads, which are good sources of B vitamins and fiber, and also the meat or meat alternates, which provide protein for growing children. Hold on. Very good. As far as it's very important when you are planning or reviewing your existing menus that you know just a little bit more about the Healthy Child Meal Pattern. It requires that only 1% or fat-free milk be offered to the students, that 100% juice is limited to once daily and can be included at the snack. And as far as yogurts, fat-free or low-fat without the artificial sweeteners are creditable. And the sweet grains, which includes the graham crackers, muffins, any of the breads, and sweet cereals cannot be served at supper, and no more than 2 servings of the sweet grain products and or sweet cereals per week. Looking at a snack, the snack needs to include 2 of the 4 components. And what I want you to notice on this slide is that the portion sizes. You need to take note of the minimum required amounts. And another snack tip would be that water must be served if there is no beverage provided. So if one of those 2 components is not a beverage, you need to include water. And unfortunately, it's not counted as any of the components, but we need to have that included, and it must be specified on your menus. Looking at supper, all the suppers must include five components. And again, look at the required amounts of each one of the components for the fluid milk, the grain bread, meat alternate. And then to make for 5, we do need 2 different fruits and or vegetables. The CACFP application process is just a phone call away. The application starts with dialing our toll-free number and requesting an application to enroll. A public health nutritionist will guide you through the initial forms. We typically do 2 forms over the phone plus a checklist. You do not have to record anything during this process because your cover letter will include all the items that we are requesting on the, from the checklist. Next, we'll put the packet together, we mail it to you, you complete it as accurately as possible, and we do have some additional documentation that will be requested. Now, most after-school programs will have a pre-approval visit, which is an excellent opportunity for some face-to-face training and a great time for you to ask your questions that apply to your program. And once approved, your after-school program will be participating in CACFP and helping children develop healthy eating habits that last a lifetime. Oops. Back it up. Sorry about that. I would like you to remember to bookmark the CACFP website. It's www.health.ny.gov/CACFP. Our contact information is on the slide, or you can call me directly to discuss enrolling your after-school program. And I did add, if you should have any questions at a later time, the CACFP email address is on this slide. And just please include Outreach Coordinator in the subject line so that the email can be directed to Outreach. And I want to say thank you to the Network for Youth Success and Hunger Solutions New York for all of your outreach efforts, and thank you for your time today. I'm going to hand it back to you, Ligea.
Thanks, Mary Ellen. Thank you for providing us with a breakdown of the enrollment process in CACFP. So again, I just wanted to remind everyone that we will have time at the end of the webinar for questions and answers, but please feel free to enter any questions in the chat box as we go along. Okay, so now I would like to take a short time to discuss how to credit the supplements and or snacks that Mary Ellen mentioned in crediting meals with CACFP. So steps to credibility. These are just a few questions that program providers should consider when crediting meals and preparing menus. So does your program plan to provide supper or snack? As stated by Mary Ellen in the previous slides, the required food components differ for a supper and a snack, so these are things to consider when creating and recording menus. What is the age of the students being served? In most after-school programs, the age group of children is between 6 to 12 years of age, and the required serving sizes are defined in the CACFP Healthy Child Meal Pattern Chart that will be provided in the resources section of this webinar. However, programs which include children older than 12 years of age should reconsider the serving sizes of meals and snacks being served. These are minimum serving sizes, and you can serve more food to meet the needs of your participants. What are the required components? To reiterate, for supper, the required food components are 5 components: 8 ounces of milk, 2 ounces of meat or meat alternative, 3/4 cup total of either a fruit or vegetable or both a vegetable, and 1/2 cup of grain or 1 slice of whole grain bread. For snacks, program providers should serve 2 of 4 components, which can be 1 cup or 8-ounce milk, 3/4 cup fruit and or vegetable, 1 ounce of meat or meat alternative, and a half cup of grain or 1 sliced bread. These can be found in the CACFP Crediting Foods Handbook, and it is recommended that New York State after-school programs using the Crediting Foods Handbook New York State after-school programs use the Crediting Foods Handbook provided by the New York State Department of Health, which differs from the USDA handbook used in other states. This is because New York State handbook was adapted based on New York State best practices. And lastly, program providers should consider the minimum requirements and student satisfaction. Program providers should aim to ensure that suppers and snacks served satisfy students' energy needs, which may often be beyond the minimum requirement for each component. So here we have an example of a supper meal. However, as we see here, not all required components are favored. Milk has been provided, although fat-free or 1% milk must be served to meet CACFP requirements, and all other components are favored. Next, we have an example of a snack, which once there are no nut or seed allergies in your program, can simply be a slice of whole grain bread, 2 tablespoons peanut butter, and banana. CACFP requires at minimum 2 out of 4 components to credit a snack. However, milk has been added. This is a perfect example of meeting the minimum requirement, but aiming to meet the energy needs of children in the program. Here we have a sample menu of a supper sample menu, which will be made available at the end of the webinar. This covers an entire week of what you might see for suppers in an after-school program. The hot section of the menu might be used for a program with access to a full kitchen, and the cold menu might be used for a program without kitchen access. As stated here, the milk, fat-free or 1% milk is provided, just to add a reminder, and all 5 components are provided on every day. Next, we have a sample snack menu. You can see that there is plenty of room for variety even while staying within CACFP guidelines. I have noted in red snacks that include peanut butter, and after-school providers should aim to note nut and seed allergies among participants in the program. Sweet grains, as stated by Mary Ellen, sweet grain products and sweet cereals may not be served at supper, and no more than 2 servings of sweet grains products and or sweet cereals may be served per week. Here are a few child nutrition resources, including a link to the New York State Crediting Foods in CACFP Handbook, the Healthy Child Meal Pattern based on New York State best practices, and a link to our CACFP frequently asked questions. Now we would like to open up for questions and answers. Please type any questions you may have for any of our presenters into the chat box. Thank you. Okay, so now I will just be going over the questions that we've received in the chat box. Okay, so our first question is, if I want to serve more than just the minimum portion, is there a specific portion I need to meet? For example, could I serve twice the fruit if I just serve the minimum for the other components, or do I have to serve twice the amount of each component?
This is Mary Ellen, and as long as you meet the two required, or for a snack, for example, if you meet the two, you have two required components, or you choose two of the four required components, then the portion sizes, as long as you meet the minimum required amount, and it was very important how Ligea pointed out that the older students might need more of a larger portion, then it doesn't matter. As long as you provide the minimum, the two required components, the minimum amount, and you can use, if you can, your program can do that, you can provide additional servings for the students based on their, what their preferences are.
Thank you, Mary Ellen, for answering that question. We then have another question. Can I enroll if I operate a basketball club, not a full after-school program? This is open to all presenters.
So I can speak to that. What we would look at in a case like that, if that is an educational, or a recreational sports activity. What we cannot support, what we can't be for the enrichment component is like a competitive sports team where that team is really not open to all the students. The program needs to be open to all, and as long as there's an enrichment component, and it could be recreational sports, then that would meet the requirement for enrichment.
Thank you, Mary Ellen and Misha, for answering that question. Another question from one participant. Can my after-school program serve both snacks and suppers?
So I'd like to talk about that. Yes, your program is eligible for the at-risk after-school program to serve both the snack and the supper. So if that best meets your program needs, we do have recommendations for that. Let's say that you opt to serve the snack first. We recommend 2 hours between serving the snack and the supper. If your program needs are better served with a supper being served first, then we recommend serving supper and then waiting at least 2.5 hours to serve the snack. And just so the programs are aware, the snack is intended to be consumed on-site with the group. It's not a takeaway, and so it shouldn't be planned as such.
So if I could just chime in as well, and from a practical stance from what Mary Ellen was just saying. So for example, in middle schools or high schools, or where the students are eating well before noon, they're eating lunch at 10:45 in the morning, depending on their schedule, having that, serving that supper meal at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when school is dismissed for the day makes a lot of sense for those kids that are, especially hungry. And then waiting that 2.5 hours or the 2.5 hours between, and so for the snacks for the kids that stay a little later in the afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, Misha. We have another question from one participant. Any program can apply for CACFP, or was it referenced earlier there is a list of programs who can apply?
So as far as eligibility is concerned, the program can be a school-based program. It can be a private or public organization. For the at-risk after-school program, the majority of our programs are not-for-profit.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Another question Are there specific vendors I have to use to get the food I serve?
So the vending question is, we hear it very often, and let me say that I am not an expert as far as the vending. We do have a person in our office that is very knowledgeable. We do not, CACFP does not recommend any particular vendors. So as part of your research, as you are applying, you want to look at that. You want to see what vendors are available. And then as part, we get you through most of the application process, and then we will also look at the vending. We have a packet that's available on our website for organizations that would be vending less than $100,000. So you can look at that. As you go on our website, you would go into participating daycare sponsors, and then you would go into that page and look at forms, curriculum, and scroll down. It'll be at the end because it starts with B. So there's information right on our website, and it includes that vending packet.
Thank you.
But just to piggyback on what you're saying with Mary Ellen, is it's true though that for after-school programs that are located within the school building, you highly recommend that the school's food service department prepares those meals, and that we wouldn't work with a vendor per se.
No, absolutely right, Misha. If it's located within the school, we definitely hope that you work with your school and provide the meals right through that local school district.
Thank you, Misha and Mary Ellen. I have one more question. Can more than one after-school program located in the same school building provide CACFP meals?
That's a good question. And I am going to clarify one thing as we talk about this. If the after-school program is located in New York City, any of the 5 bureaus, and it's located within a public school, all of those programs will participate through our sponsor in New York City, which is our largest sponsor. It is the New York City Department of Education. So that's New York City. As we speak about upstate, we would look at that probably on a case-by-case basis. I haven't come across that all that often upstate, that there's more than one in a location, but we would definitely be able to discuss that as they call to apply. But it shouldn't be, I don't think it's a big problem.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mary Ellen. We have actually a couple more questions. So once enrolled, what do we need to do to get reimbursed?
So once you're through the application process and you have been approved to participate, then there are certain record-keeping requirements that would be required. We have, just very briefly, we require attendance records, and that can be your own form. We also require meal count records. That is kind of a second layer of determining how many meals are served, and those meal count records are taken at the point of service. How many days in operation, depending on what you would serve. We also would have some record-keeping requirements as far as keeping food production records. We do help provide training, and as a new sponsor, you would be invited to the new sponsor, new director trainings, and our other trainings that would be available in your area, such as the food production records. So then you keep track of that on a monthly basis, and then initially you will be submit your claim on paper, but eventually you will be able to do it through the CACFP web-based claiming system, and that's all done electronically. So that's a great option and something I highly recommend.
We have another question from Sharon. Does supper have to be served every day, or could we serve snack every day and supper one day per week?
We do look for more consistency from that, but that's a good question. We'd have to break that down, and we would definitely look at that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. One question from Jamie. To be considered a low-income area, do 50% of children need to be eligible for reduced lunch or actually enrolled? Also, is there a minimum number of students who need to attend the program daily?
So these are great questions.
Yeah.
And so the first part, we would determine now we're only talking about the at-risk after-school program. During that initial phone call, we're going to ask that question, as I mentioned earlier, where that student would go to school if they lived right next door to the after-school program. Once you tell us, or we can determine, we establish that school, then all we're going to do is we're going to look at that, the New York State Education Department data. We're going to look at that, and we're going to determine right then and there, is it 50%? If it's 50% or more, it's eligible for the at-risk reimbursement. Okay. So now what was the other part of the question?
Is there a minimum number of students who need to attend the program daily?
No, there is not a minimum amount, and we have very small programs and we have much larger programs, so we are able to meet the needs of those programs. Of course, that'll determine your level of reimbursement too, so you have to take that into consideration.
If I could also jump in and piggyback on the 50% in the school question, as I understood the question was about, is it 50% eligible, or is it's actually 50% qualified to receive free or reduced price meals? So CACFP after school meal component looks at actual applications on file in school buildings for free and reduced price school meals. This is a little different from some of the other, for example, summer meals, where you could look at applications on file in a school building, or you could look at census data for the low-income kids in an area. And if they're in an area, according to census data, if there was more than 50% of kids eligible to receive free reduced price meals. But with CACFP after school meals, it's about, do more than half of the kids enrolled in a school building have a free or reduced price application on file with that school, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Misha. We have one other question. Our after-school programs are located in churches. During the pre-approval visit, do you decide whether we can serve supper, hot suppers, or snack only?
But we would ask certain questions, such as how the food was being prepared, what equipment is available, is the kitchen been inspected by your local health authorities? So we're going to look at those things. If you use a vendor, that's a different situation. So it would depend, but they would definitely want to come out and observe a mealtime, you know, whether it's the snack or the supper being served.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. One last question. Can you send or post the webinar slides so we can access all of the hyperlinks? I can answer this one. Yes, we will send these to all registered participants and post them at networkfeedsuccess.org on our Child Nutrition's page. So that brings us to the end of, actually I see one last question from Brittany. Can we be a provider of serving supper if the organization does not directly run the after-school program.
So would they want to be, I'm not really following that. If they want to be like a vendor, then that would be something, you know, separate from CACFP.
Brittany, can you elaborate that question or provide some more clarification? Can you provide some more clarification on your question, Brittany? Oh, yes? Oh, sorry. Yes, a vendor. She said yes, a vendor.
Well, that would be something separate, and she would, you know, that would be a separate business than, you know, being reimbursed through CACFP. The sponsoring, you know, after-school program would pay the vendor. So it would be separate from CACFP.
Okay. Thank you, Mary Ellen. So if there aren't any more questions at this time, I would like to bring the webinar to a close and thank all our participants for participating in today's webinar. I also would love to thank Misha and Mary Ellen Flynn again for joining us today. We will post and email the slides and recording to all registered attendees. Thank you for joining us. Bye.